good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unleashed. I am TA, you guys, and excited to join with you tonight for another episode, another focus, another topic. And I'm just going to tell you straight off the bat that I'm excited because we also kick off the holidays, you guys. Man, happy Thanksgiving to each of you. I am excited to kick off the holidays with you as well, and especially because it is my birthday this week. I fall on Thanksgiving, which is kind of crazy, but I'm excited because I'll be able to have my family, my daughter, my grandbaby are here. They're going to be here for almost 2 months, and we get to have fun. And we've got a lot of things planned for the holidays. I'm one of those that I like to have events that we do and get everybody ready, and they have to go prepare and study or, dress up or go practice. We have a lot of things that we do here in our family. And again, I hope that that's going to be the case for you as you get ready to travel to go spend time with family, loved ones, and friends. Well, tonight, you guys, I'm excited about this topic that we have. It's single and the city. And what I'm excited about is how I got this topic is by me clicking on yahoo.com and just kind of looking down to see what was happening in the world and see what things, were being talked about, what's trending, as they say. And I ran across an article that I started reading, and I'm like, oh, whoa. I thought, wow. And I'm excited about it because that's what we're going to talk about. And it's on yahoo.com, and you can go look it up. And I'll even put the link here in the thread when we log off. But it's 25 things that are common and less common than normal, they say, red flags that men want to caution women about. And when I started reading them, I almost felt like they were taking a couple of my shows that I've launched and cramming them into, man, their points of what they want to say as men, that they want to warn other single ladies about. And the things that they say is that if they do this, if you see this, it's time to bounce. So, with that, you guys, I couldn't discuss this topic without anybody else other than first my brother. As I told you guys last week, I was going to drag him on this show, and he's been under the weather. And luckily, he's feeling better and he's present. But I thought, hold up, if we're going to talk about men, then I got to have two of my girls with me as well so that we all can talk about it. And then so I thought, who could I add on with me? And so I'm going to bring them on, you guys, as I'm excited that they're joining me as we kick off our holidays, you guys, and just some fun things that I'm going to be doing for the holidays that you guys are going to like. And so let's bring them on. And so, with that, tonight for our show that we've got here on the podcast, we are going to be talking about single and the city. And let me introduce who I have joining me. And you guys, real quick, make sure you stop, drop, and share right now. I just know when you get more than one person on with me, and then when you get these two ladies, I just got this funny feeling, or just me and my brother by ourselves, that I know that this is going to be a conversation well worth having. It's going to be, man, a Thursday night thing. You got your DVR set. This is where you want to be. And I guarantee you other people are going to want to join us. So if you know you've got single men and women out there, man, not only share it, but tag them so they can join us as well. And welcome Facebook and welcome YouTube over here as we get ready to start. And with that, man, welcome. I'm going to turn over here because they're right here. I'm going to introduce to you this awesome lady that's sitting at the top. I gave her the top tier seat just because, y'all, she's my lady. She's the one who's got this gorgeous dude that y'all have been asking about. Man, it's like a bartender. Your bartender is who you go to talk to with everything, where whoever hooks you up for your hair is like family. So I feel like if we're going to have a family night, then I've got to invite this gorgeous, beautiful woman. And this is Michelle Reedus from Michelle's Hair Closet out of H-Town, Houston. Oh my God, I love her. Welcome, Michelle. How are you tonight? Oh, Michelle, I can't hear you. Are you on mute by any chance? Or is you muted? Okay, there we go. I can hear you now. Welcome. How are
Okay.
you? For some
You're
reason, it's like
good?
it was a delay. I can hear you perfectly. How are you
Okay.
doing tonight? Tell me again.
Doing really well. Doing really well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about being here and getting into this chat with you guys tonight.
Oh, well, it's going to be good when I know with the three of us. So, Michelle, I just know already off the bat, because we've had a few conversations about being single in the city, and you've had a chance to look at some of the things we're going to be bringing up. What is your first overall comments on these 26 things that these men have brought tonight? What is your overall comment, real quick?
Overall, I think they're really, really good key points and things that you should look out for. I will say I felt like they're also very relevant for women as well,
Woo,
and not
okay.
just men. It applies.
Okay. So, not just men. This is relevant for men to be tuning in tonight because this applies to women as well, too.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'm liking this already. Oh man, and then I just thought I can't put him on the top because he'll feel attacked. I got to put him in the middle. Now, let me go ahead and say he's hot off the press from going single and taken now, but he just came from this scene, and I thought you were perfect to come to this show. This is, y'all understand, when me and him get together, we could talk for hours, as I said. And if you've, man, joined us last year watching the Men Do Talk show, every time he would talk, he would say something to throw a bomb in the room, or he would bring something so serious and profound. You never knew what you were going to get from Byron, but you needed to hold on because it was going to be something. And so, with that, and I'm going to just turn here for a second. Welcome, Byron, my brother. How are you?
What's going on, my beautiful sis? Doing good, doing good.
How are you feeling? I know that you had
Uh,
a root canal done, so you had one side of your face, Barton
hmm
said. It was just numb.
The whole
And
right side is numb, yeah, for sure. If I
yeah.
start drooling, don't y'all laugh at me. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we'll cover you, Byron. Like I said, I won't let you look like a fool. We're related. I got your back. You look good. I look
Right
good. I
on,
look good. You look good. So I got
right
you. I
on,
got you.
right on.
So glad you were able to join. And then man, she's sitting there. Y'all don't understand. Red hair means fiery, saucy. That's it. That's all you need to know. She is my offspring. She's my heart, my love, my baby. But she's 32, y'all. I still call her my baby. And so I'm excited that she's joined us. Like I said, family's in the house. It's your hairdresser, okay? It's your brother and it's your daughter. We got family night tonight. And so with that, you guys, man, welcome, Bree Bree. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so Bree, I'm going to ask you and Byron. I'm going to go ahead and get your name to where it needs to be here real quick. But Byron, when you read these things that we're about to cover tonight, what was your first impression? Was it a little like Michelle's?
Um, Kind of sort of, but I actually was more concerned I might take out some insurance tonight because if I answer these honestly, I might lose that beautiful woman I'm dating at the moment. Though I'm a little nervous right now. I might have to do some lying.
It's so funny, Byron. I was thinking about you right before I came downstairs to log on. I said, "Oh, Byron is a tough spot because literally he's got
I'm in a
this
tough
great
spot.
woman that he has found. Oh my gosh, she's
Hmm.
phenomenal. But he's about to. But here's the thing. Let's preface. This is your experience before her. Let's just
Oh,
go ahead.
thank
And if
you.
I had a
That
disclaimer,
that's
I could run down at the bottom.
that's my disclaimer. Praise God. Thank you.
And then there you go. There you
Thank
go,
you.
Byron.
All right. All right. I feel good now.
You feel you safe. You safe. I got your
Yeah, yeah,
back.
yeah.
Like I said,
But
family.
I actually love what Michelle said though, because I was thinking exactly the same thing. With dating and so on and so forth, it's definitely a two-sided thing, and I heard more so from women than I think I've heard from other single men about flags. I mean, there are flags. Trust me, we have flags, right, when it
Mhm.
comes to women. But yeah, the women are putting them flags out there up front. I mean, up front and personal. It's like, wait a minute, if I said something wrong, that's a flag. Oh, wait a minute. I'm just saying that might happen. Oh yeah, yeah, flag for sure.
Flag me sure.
I think
Like I said, y'all, this
everything I
is
say
gonna
is a
be a
flag.
this is gonna be a good podcast episode tonight. I'm just glad that a podcast has to be a minimum of an hour these days. I thought, great, because we got a lot to talk about. And so, man, Bree, I loved when I got on the phone with you earlier. You said, I'm looking at some of these things, Mom. I got a lot to say. So when you saw this, Bree, what was your thoughts? And did this really speak to you already?
I felt personally attacked. I felt like all of these is like, Brianna, wake up. These are flags. These are not like, oh, well, potentials. No, these are flags. So every single one, I was like, dang, dang, dang. And I was like, dang, Mama, what are you trying to preach to me right now? I feel attacked. So
I
yes, I'm excited to
absolutely
talk
love
about this.
that. Well, I know we're going to get into it, you guys, because we've got a lot to cover. So the way that we're going to do this, and again, make sure to share and man, make sure you guys comment. I want to make sure that I've got my comment screen up because all of our guests can see your comments. Okay, so if you want to communicate to them, ask them a question, you can, you guys. This is where it's a family night participation. Like I told you, we've been going deep the last 5 episodes. We're going to have some fun here for the holidays. And those that have been with me, following me since I started on television and radio, that follow me, and some of the times you guys watch it later, y'all know in the holidays, we love to have fun. And we're going to definitely do that here. And so, how we're going to do this is I'm going to pick one, and then I'm going to pick who I want to go to. And I'm going to ask them, number one, if they've experienced this, and if so, when, and then to give their honest thoughts about it, whether that means that they've experienced it because of their dating, PS, with Byron in the past, okay, or if maybe they know that they've been that way, maybe, or they know somebody who's been that way, and why. We're just going to have some fun conversations tonight. And so, because she's up at the top, I got to start with her. And Michelle, I'm starting with you first. And so, one of the very first ones, I like this one. I'm going to go with number one. This is where, and this is all you guys from Ask Reddit, 4 seasons. And I absolutely love this because this is from people from the WB, from CBS, from ABC, VH1. Like, these are really people that are bringing really real comments and real deal. And so this one is from Robin from Casey at CBS. And it says, and I like this, don't trust a man who can't joke about others. Okay, who can joke about others but can't take it. That means that they can sit there and joke about other people, but they can't take it. Michelle, look at her already shaking her head. Go, Michelle.
It's only because, like, I read through all of them, and this was the only one. I won't say the only one, but it stood out as I actually haven't had that experience.
Ooh, okay,
That I
okay.
can think of with, I guess, a man not being able to be teased or take a joke or kind of lashing out at it. I can't personally think of any experiences with it.
Okay. So Michelle, I'm gonna pause because we ain't gonna waste any. When you dial a friend, we're not gonna waste any of those things. We're gonna keep yours kind of set in 100. So I'm gonna skip over Byron. I'm gonna go to you, Bree.
Yes.
Look at Michelle. Yes.
I got a lot to say about this one.
Brianna, talk to me. Have you experienced this in your dating scene?
Yes. I test whoever I am dating with how serious they can be, how comical they can be, and how much they can take. So if you throw some sarcasm my way, I'm gonna throw it right back to you. Like, we gonna bounce off of each other with the sarcasm. But if you start doing it and then I'm throwing back to you and then you start to witch out, it's like, okay, you dish out and you harsh on other people. You're trying to do it with me. Like, I'm gonna throw it back. I'm not gonna be submissive and just take it. So yeah, no, I do not like that when you start being rude to other people or being sarcastic or whatever, and they throw it right back to you, and you just scared. That's no foundation.
Okay. All right, Byron. I always watch you, Byron. When you look up like this, you're thinking. See, you and I've been together before. People don't understand. You and we've been in many situations, some that I don't want people to know about. But talk to me, Byron. What are you thinking in that moment? Talk to me.
No, I was just thinking, yeah, It probably is a red flag, because just like Bree was saying, they got to be able to take it, especially and depending on the type of person you are. I'm sure that my girlfriend would already knows this about me, that I love to find that weakness, that whatever that thing is that I can tease you about, I will tease you to death about it. And if I'm going to do that, I've got to be able to take it in return. And I would agree, it would be a red flag if for some reason you've got a guy that's picking on you, because then he's really just picking on you and trying to find flaws, and not necessarily realizing, he himself has flaws, right? You got to be open
Mm,
to that. So
mm-hmm,
no, yeah,
mm-hmm.
that would be a huge red flag if you run across someone that thinks they can joke and tease and pick and prod at you and can't take it in return. Yeah, kick his butt to the curb.
Come
For
on,
real,
Byron.
for real.
Bounce. Now, Byron, have you experienced that with women? Because I like what Michelle said in the very beginning. She talked
Definitely,
about the
definitely have.
list is men and women. Talk to me about
Oh
women that
yeah.
you've experienced this with. How do they respond?
Uh, and probably more so than not, because see, I've been. It's like an art form for me, being able to tease and pick on someone. You as my sister, that I can tease like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I say I can get away with it because I can love just as hard. But I absolutely have gotten in trouble with teasing with someone that might feel comfortable doing, teasing me, so to speak, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm really receptive to it. But
Mm-hmm.
but I've gotten in trouble with basically doing in kind, right back with them, because I'm going to always. It's kind of like the game where you always try to be on top. I'm going to always, try to outdo them. So I get in trouble with that approach sometimes. I don't believe in losing when it comes to talking smack, and it can be talking smack sometimes. So
Okay, so
yeah,
I, I I gotta take a second. How is it that y'all two family members are like that? And I didn't get that bone in my body at all. She's over there, talk Byron, say that Byron. How did the world?
it was because
Because
yeah,
me and
you
him,
just
we did the same
you
thing. I remember Christmas 7 years ago. Me and you were going over the wine bottle, and I kept going with you. You're like, dang, she coming back at it. Like, breathe, stop. I'm like, you throwing at me, I'm throwing it back at you.
hmm
I
And,
hmm
remember that Christmas.
now. And
yeah.
it might not be necessarily true, but I can tell you those signs come into play sometimes as to who can dish it out and who can take it and so on and so forth. And I would say that your particular sign in particular, sis, they can be a little sensitive about being picked on a little bit too much. So
Uh-huh,
that
uh-huh.
might be why you
Maybe
don't
one of the
dish it out
reason
as much.
my brother
Yeah,
is saying
yeah.
I'm too sensitive, so everybody adjust it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, we were
That
we
could
were warned.
possibly be it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Big
love
crocodile
that.
tears one time. You be like, oh, I can't do that no more.
I love that.
Yeah.
And plus, Mama was always like, because I was the delicate flower in the family, the moment she saw that I'd shed a
Uh,
tear, she would get on y'all. And y'all would know I was a
mm,
delicate flower. So I know that. All
hmm
right. So let's go to another one. Man, this is a good one. I'm going to read the question first. When you have to cater to his needs and wants over your own with no compromise, it can be something like only watching shows that he wants to watch, only doing things that he wants to do, or only ordering takeout with what he likes. And this is from Sir Hippo from CBS. And so Michelle, have you experienced that before where you've dated somebody where it was all about them? Whenever you tried to go and make it about you, there was always an issue, always a problem. And then they would always kind of sometimes flip it on you to make you feel guilty. So you end up conforming. Have you had that happen to you?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Very
talk to me about that.
much so.
So,
Um, I'm very much so guilty of finding myself in relationships where that happens, and it kind of becomes all about the person, and you kind of lose yourself.
Mm,
I can admit that my marriage ended up becoming that way.
mm,
And it's almost like as a woman, and then kind of based off biblical values a little bit, you feel obligated. You feel like as a
mm.
woman
Oh, this is
and
good.
as a wife, this is what I am supposed to do.
Mm,
Um, and I think there's a way that you just have to create balance with it and not be overconsumed. Because I do believe that you should be supportive and you should be that help and support the vision and be a part of that. However, there's a certain amount of free will and individuality that has to be established to me to create a healthy balance with it. It took a long time for me to recognize that. And there definitely was the guilt tactic being used as this is the reason why you should be this way.
Wow. Okay, I think you're touching on something that is so awesome. And I love that you took it beyond single in the city to married in the city, you know, which we are going to cover that as well, because it starts with the dating, you know, and that's kind of where those signs maybe were there, you know, during that time. But then during that blissful state of dating, you maybe ignore it, or you think it's going to get better, or you hope that it's going to get better. And so did you see those signs when y'all were dating?
I didn't. It was more so of a we're building together.
Oh, wow.
And there was this vision, and we were both in agreement with it. And that just became our lives, to where the things I used to do, people I used to hang out with, interests that I had, eventually over time, I kind of lost those interests.
Wow. Wow. Okay. This is good. This is good. And man, I'm going to come to each of you, Byron and Bree. I'm going to go to you first, Bree. And Bree, you know what I want you to do for me? I'm going to go to Byron first. I know you're going to say, Mama's Miss Perfect. You're just too beautiful for me to have you down so low. I need you to bring that camera to where I wish you could see it. Go close up to it and just kind of bring it down a little bit. You know, yeah, thank you, baby. Byron, you know, let's talk about this, because this is where I think a lot of people can find themselves in those relationships. They're dating and they're trying to be kind of what Michelle was saying. You're trying to please the other person. You're trying to give and take. You're trying to make it where you're taking two pieces and make it into one. It's just that you don't realize maybe, or you do see it, but maybe you ignore it, where little by little, it ends up being all about them. And so have you had a relationship, and again, with the disclaimer, before you met your girlfriend, because you know you've kind of been in the scene where you've had other relationships where that ended up being the case, that you were given to tend to them, but then before you know it, there was nothing about you. It was all about them.
Just about every relationship I've been in.
Wow.
So, to be honest, and that's probably more a reflection of me than it is, you know, the ladies that I dated, so to speak. I think, you know, I have an interesting twist on this. I kind of feel like it's almost a positive if this person is this way at first, because you literally end up knowing what you have versus someone who's pretending and giving at first, but then eventually flips the script on you and reveals their true nature, right? Which is they might be selfish. They're not capable of sacrificing their desires or you know, compromising a little bit. I used to tell my daughter all the time, right? Because you know, I always wanted her to support me like I would support her. So I would say, you know, if she didn't like something, she would tell me, you know, I'm not feeling that, Dad. But I'm like, hey, but you know, as friends, partners, companions, boyfriends and girlfriends, right? You have to be willing sometimes to do those things that aren't necessarily your go-to, right? And so for me, I that's huge. It's important. It is a red flag for me when I find myself in that relationship again, where that person can't necessarily you know, sacrifice a little bit of their desires, right? And necessarily try to appease me. And because, you know, all kinds of thoughts come into mind to me when that plays itself out, right? Because one, if the person loves you enough, they're willing to do things that will appease you. Two, you know, why are they being so, I hate to use the word controlling, but it's one of my unfortunately favorite words to use, because I think we all are most comfortable when we're in control, right? And I think the challenge for us, right, is to actually fight that, right? Especially when you're in a partnership. It serves itself well when you're controlling you yourself alone, right? But when you have someone else in that relationship, I think it's very
Okay, you guys don't know what's happened, but let's get him back. That was really weird. It's like, man, that was crazy. All right, Byron. So let's go ahead and continue with what you were saying. That was really weird. I think
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
not sure
actually
where
not
it
me. I think
dropped,
that
but
was Facebook.
I think I was, yeah, I'm not sure where it dropped, but I think, you know, for me, it was like I said, it could be a positive if upfront that person's being honest, but I think it's a good indicator of what you will have across the board, right?
Hmm.
And if that's not something that don't sacrifice or be satisfied with that up front, because it will be a problem later, and it'll probably even become more of a problem later. Yeah. So no, to me, that is a real big flag, real big red flag, indeed.
Hmm.
Now, unfortunately for me, I was going to say, you know, because of, you know, being raised by my mom, you know, us being raised by our mother, I can easily put myself in a position where I'm going to elevate the woman and kind of just basically I'm going to do what makes her happy as opposed and sacrifice myself a little bit. Not necessarily a healthy thing to do over a long period of time, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the true blessing would be to be in a relationship with someone that's willing to balance that out, you know, to realize, wow, we're always doing what I want, you know, and you realize, well, what do you want? And they really ask you that, right, up front. Well, what would you like to do versus, you know, something else?
Hmm.
I'll say, there you go.
Yeah, I'm messing with it. That's me. I'm the one messing with it. And so let's go to because it's got me frozen a little bit. So Bree, let's go to you because I know you have a lot to say on this one. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of make you last. So talk to me. Have you been in a situation like this where you really have found like Byron and, you know, and Michelle that it seems to be that it was all about that? And I'm just going to be messing with my camera while you do that. Again, this is a podcast that goes on all of the listening channels, but go ahead, Bree.
No, you're fine. Absolutely. I've been in, I think, all of them, but maybe two
Mm,
of my relationships have been that way, where it's been all about them. Whenever I find my piece or what I want to do or what my likings are, I get almost insulted um, for my interest and uh, kind of made to feel bad for wanting to do the things that I'm wanting. And because I don't know if it's just the upbringing, if it's daddy issues, if it's
mm,
whatever, but I've noticed that the one consistent thing is the want to make that other person feel comfortable
mm-hmm,
and make them feel okay and submit my wants and kind of, not kind of, Brianna, own it, wanting to make them feel comfortable and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that my emotions, I'll deal with them later. I'll find my peace at another time. I'll, on my own, I'll get that to myself. In the single world, if I notice a man is off the bat, kind of to what Byron was just saying, that there is potential. I hate that word, potential. Um, but for it to get better because you do bounce off each other, you do regulate each other out if you want to go the long haul, for that. So if you see it in the beginning, absolutely it is a flag. But if you feel that it's enough and you and that person are on the same page enough that it's something that you can continually work on and strengthen and find a middle ground, a
mm,
balance, then that flag can just like turn into maybe like a playground flag,
You know,
which
one
is what
thing,
all
one
my relationships turned out to be. It's just a
I
playground.
love
yeah.
that. What were you going to say, Byron?
Yeah, one thing baby girl made me think of was that, you know, I've had female friends that have struggled in relationships to maintain relationships. They're going through a bunch of relationships,
Mm-hmm,
and you know,
mm-hmm,
and I can see on the outside from my perspective, knowing them really well, I can understand, you know, the mistake they're making, and that right in this here, if you find yourself in a position where you're conceding or you're losing yourself or you're letting that person basically have their way, it it I think that person will undervalue you, or
That's
they're
powerful.
letting you know that they undervalue you, and you can pretty much so bet that it's not going to last. You know
Yeah,
that
because that
that
seesaw, it's definitely like, okay, when am I gonna get mine? When am I gonna
yeah,
get lifted up? And it just
yeah,
gets to where it's like that. So yeah, no, I agree.
yep,
Mm.
yep, yep.
Well, I can definitely tell you, and for some reason, my screen's just going to be frozen, and that's okay, which is why this is a podcast. We stripped the video down to put it on all of the main streams. But I think this is a place where you guys that have been listening to my podcast know that I've been speaking about this, about being about yourself, not to the point of selfishness, but putting yourself as a priority, being true to yourself, loving yourself, because it really should be two pieces coming into one. It really should be about two people that are individuals being able to come together to click in, not one having to lay down their whole life and who they are for the other. And that's where we start to get into toxic relationships. We start to get into codependency relationships that can be really detrimental. And boy, is it a ground for starting of narcissistic relationships that can just be deadly, actually. And so I totally agree with every single thing that you guys say. And it takes work to take a one-sided relationship and get it balanced. It takes a lot. Normally you find the one that was the giver is the one that's willing to do it and do all the work to make it happen, but the other person isn't, because it's so hard of a change for them. And so now let's go to the next one. Um, this is a big one. Oh man, this is from HBO. This is Bucky Goldman who says that ladies or even men, beware if you're dating somebody. And this is what they said: if anything happens to them, they always shift blame to someone else, to something else, or the situation. That is a big red flag. Sooner or later, everything will be your fault. Now, Michelle, I see you shaking your head. Girl, look inside like, mm-hmm. So I'm gonna I'm gonna let you go first on this one because that one hit home. I could tell for you.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag for me at this stage in life, especially when it comes to dating. Um, it's kind of just a rule I use all over with interaction with people in any type of interaction, but
Mm-hmm.
especially as it pertains to dating, there has to be accountability. I feel like not being able to admit your fault prevents any leeway of any type of restoration, building any type of trust, being able to repair whatever the issue is if you're not taking accountability for the mistakes that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I literally can't deal at all, not even on the smallest level with it. You have to take ownership um, of the mistakes and the things that you've done. So it's a huge red flag for me, not wanting to take accountability and making excuses
Mm-hmm.
instead. Which I think it's definitely important to identify, like you can have the reason for why the behavior exists, or but to only leave it there and then not move forward in it, you can't just stay in the realm of making excuses for behavior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. And do you find that in those moments when you can't deal, it brings out a side of you that now, is not even yourself? Or do you just normally retreat and get quiet?
No, I used to react, but today I wouldn't. It would just, for me, it's more so I have this expectation from you because I have it from myself. And if that's what I require, and this is what I would do if I was caught in fault or made a mistake, that's how I would handle it. So if that's how I treat myself, I'm going to need you to do the same thing.
Ooh, okay. I absolutely love that one. That is really that's really good. And I just have to kind of do my little applaud effect here. That was real good. I hate that I'm frozen over here, but that could be for a reason. I'm just gonna let it have its way. Bree, let me jump over Byron and come to you. Have you seen that in the dating scene where this is about when there is issues and problems when maybe they do something, didn't do it right, that instead of them taking responsibility, you always find when there's a confronting the issue, not confrontation, that they shift the blame and put it on you?
Okay, I was actually going putting blame on others, but yes, the full circle. If you're putting the blame on others, then you're going to those people and putting the blame on me.
Mm,
So if
mm,
somebody is causing an issue for you and you're like, oh, well, because they did this, I'm not able to do this, you're literally going to that same person or another person and saying, oh, well, because Bree did this, I'm not able to do this. So it's like what Michelle said, where's that accountability?
mm,
And
mhm,
there's not. It's just a cycle of who has the open ear to listen to it. And
That's good.
I've learned a lot in these last couple of years, um, these flags. And now this dating world, I don't care how narrow this pond's going to be, but that accountability, because that means if something ever bad happened to me where I needed to come to you as
mm,
for
mm,
help, and maybe you have something on your plate or whatever, you're going to say, oh, well, because I had to deal with you or do this for you, I wasn't able to do this. Like, that's just when that stuff starts hitting heavy and affecting your home, and you're building this family, and you're already showing those signs of things that are minute.
hmm,
When the big picture comes and the last name changes and the rings on the finger, like, how are you going to be adapted to that? Where were you in accepting this from them? Where were you in saying, no, I can't do that because I have, these priorities, or I have this on my plate? Where was that? So, yeah, no. I ain't dealing with that no more.
That's good, Bree. Man, I really like what you said. Byron, do you want to comment on that? Because that was really good.
Yeah, I agree with Bree and Michelle, and great points. It actually makes me think more so about red flags tied to one's inability to apologize, right? So,
Mm,
kind of
mhm,
Michelle was talking about, accountability, right? So sometimes we fail to be able to apologize because we won't own the fact that we've hurt someone, right? We're going to basically say, no, you misunderstood me.
mm,
Uh,
mhm,
Gary
mhm,
Chapman, right? I love his five love languages, and he also puts another book out that I was trying to look up the name of it, but he has one about apologies, and he talks
mhm,
about the how you should go about apologizing. Well, it
mhm,
was an epiphany
mhm,
for me, right? I mean, it profound difference because I would say that you know based on the way I apologized, it should be a red flag historically,
mhm, mhm,
meaning because I always took it that my partner or this person that should know me well enough to know that my heart, but
mm,
in doing that, oftentimes I was not giving them credit for or validating the way that
mhm,
they feel,
mhm,
right? So
Mm-hmm.
with Gary, I learned that if I love this person, first and foremost, I should validate the way they feel, right? And
mhm, mhm,
I would always say to I always used to jokingly say to Brittany would be like, so if I was because she was going to a state. Oh, you're back, sis. She's
I
going back to a
am.
state where she
Yay!
Q Dog
was
came and
was
saved the
saying
day. Superhero, go.
awesome, awesome. Where she would say no a lot, right? She'd do
Mhm,
something to hurtful or I'm sorry, or say sorry. That I'm sorry. She'd
mhm,
say I'm
mhm,
sorry all the time. And I told her, I said, well, that would be about the equivalent of if I said I was sorry, slapped you, said I was sorry, slapped you. At some point, there's no value in the sorry, right? Because you
that's
equate it
good.
to slap you. So
That's
the
good.
apology, there's no value in the apology if I can't first and foremost validate, the way you feel, and then try to convince you and talk about, the person I am. So I think it's a huge flag when you're in that position where that person can't be accountable, can't own up to their faults, always looking to misdirect the blame, so to speak, for sure.
Mhm, mhm. I love a point that you brought, that I think that uh, needs to be addressed or discussed or shared or that other people need to hear validated. You know, sorry can get old. Sorry can get to a place where it means nothing. It's not sorry until I do it again. It's sorry, I won't do it again. So if that person continues to do it over and over, that sorry becomes nothing and it just turns into frustration. Okay. It turns into sometimes anger, and then it could turn into a heaviness of stress. And then it could definitely cause you to react now that then what starts to happen, you start to look at that person differently. That level of respect that you had for them starts to go away. And then you just start to almost lose that loving feeling. And it's
Hmm.
no longer even something where you could respect them as a person. It becomes very it becomes very toxic. And that's what happens in relationships. You know, I've coached many people in relationships. And once that respect is lost that you have for somebody else, that's to me where it's so hard to rebuild that back. And that is also not just about respect for them, but it's also, believe it or not, respect is tied into trust. Trust in the fact that I can give you my heart. Trust in the fact that I can invest in this again. Trust in the fact that I can have a life with you to continue do what I'm doing. All that gets broken down. It's like an infrastructure type thing of a relationship. And so I love that. Let's go on to another one. And this one I thought was interesting. This is from NBC. This is the Geek Therapist. I'm curious, have you guys ever dated somebody who throws tantrums? Like literally throws tantrums, like grown people, and they have an issue and a problem. Brianna, Brianna, I'm going to go to you first on this one. To where a grown person, or you've seen that, you know, in a relationship, but they act like a child. Brianna.
I'm gonna first start off and say I am so grateful for having the daughter that I have, who is 7 years old and has never thrown a tantrum.
Mm.
She has been tested, she has been challenged, she has been given things that any normal 90% of population children her age would have thrown a tantrum. When I see a something 7-year old man throwing a legit tantrum, knocking over stuff, getting all types of emotional, all of that, it's like, what did your mama raise you with? Like, just let you be. So no, that's a huge flag. If you are getting emotionally exteriorly you know what I'm trying to say. If you're showing that and you can't even calculate it, funnel it, channel it, put a bow on it, wrap it, swallow it, you know, put it whatever, then no, you're not man. As Tony Braxton said, you're not man enough for me. If you can't keep your physical tantrum child self locked up in a box to be an adult and communicate, that is poor communication. That is poor time management, because now you wasted my time. When here I have a child who doesn't throw tantrums and you're a grown man throwing tantrums. I could talk all day on this topic. When I read this is actually the moment that I said, I feel attacked, because that out of all my relationships, this is one of my relationships is the biggest one that there were legit grown man tantrums. And all I would do, walk away. So any woman who sees a tantrum,
that's a good one.
Pack up your stuff. Let them kick and scream, knock over stuff, hoop, holler, cry in the bathroom, whatever. Boo boo, go get a bag. Come back for your stuff the next day. I'm done. Sorry. I'm out.
Oh man. Oh my gosh. I love that. I need all these other sounds that we used to have, you know, when we were doing this talk. That was really good. She said, go pack your stuff. Well, you know what? I'll pack it for you. While you're doing that, I'm getting a bag and packing your stuff. Oh my goodness, Michelle. Have you ever dated somebody, you know, that literally had a tantrum in the relationship? Or, oh, she's already shaking her head. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Talk to me about that.
It was a really long time ago, though, when I was in my 20s. So when I think of the situation, it's just like emotional immaturity at its finest. And the situations that I have seen it in have been early when I was young. So I don't know if it's just takes time to develop. I couldn't imagine a man in his 40s, 50s behaving that way. I personally haven't seen it, but when I was younger, definitely was in relationships and that was the case.
I like that. I like that because you said the same thing. If you're seeing that in your relationship, you got to ask yourself, do you want to date a boy or a girl, or do you want to date a man or a woman? Because basically what you're saying at that point, you're not even dating a woman or a man, you're dating a child.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. Byron, any comments on that before I go to one of these big ones down here?
Wait,
Sure.
before Byron
Yeah.
speaks, I got another thing. I gotta add one more thing. And I'm gonna bring up Byron. You know what? No. I'm gonna save that for another topic. I know which topic I want to say that thing. So go
Okay.
ahead.
All
My
right.
bad,
Go ahead,
Byron.
Byron.
I was going to say that I don't think it necessarily has to be. It doesn't have to get to a tantrum, right, to be a red flag.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I can be petty. I said that I can be petty, and you know, if I'm not able to own up to that, that's a red flag.
Ah,
You
that's
know,
true. That's true.
there are things that, however we're wired, right, that may bother us, right,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
things that you feel like you must have. There are certain times that you just feel like, I just really need this, and you
Mm.
can be petty about it. You don't have to throw a tantrum. I'm not the type of guy to throw a tantrum, but I can be petty, meaning like I want to have my way, and I've dated those persons as well, and sometimes it comes down to, keep the peace, or either say, no, or you have the fight and the discussion. You try to
Mm-hmm.
convince you try to get the other person to see themselves, right? Because,
Mm-hmm.
do you understand how you're coming across?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it doesn't have to it doesn't have to necessarily be a tantrum. One of the words in there was petty. Yeah,
Yep.
petty matters. Petty
Petty
matters.
malice. I like the way you rolled that out. All right, this one is bigger. I kind of like that. When we look at this one and they kind of get to this one, I really want to kind of spend a little time on this one. This one is from the CW, which is, man, one of my favorite networks. That's where all the superhero shows are at. This one's from X Disson. I like it. X Disson. I'm dissing you, X. I love that. It says, when he or she looks to you as their sole source of happiness and entertainment, this usually means that they lack the ability to manage their own emotions or have healthy coping mechanisms. In addition, if you are in it for the long term, there will be times that you will get sick of each other. And a guy or a girl needs some hobbies that can take his attention away to give you space. Basically, they're all up in your grill. You are their source for everything. They cannot function without you, can't do anything without you. You are their source. That if they're not happy, you're the one that's got to make them happy. Man, who's been with somebody like that or dated somebody in the past and experienced that? Okay, Bree, I'm coming to you.
Well, I think we all have. I saw everybody kind of nodding. Um, when you become the person's source, it's like, okay, when are you going to become my source? And you start kind of going to that fill your own cup before you can fill into others. If I'm supposed to be Betty Crocker, Pamela Anderson, Beyonce, Beyonce on 5 levels and all of this, then where are you going to feed into me and be Ken doll and Cristiano Ronaldo and Jay-Z money? When are you going to start being all of that for me? And you're
Mm,
not.
mm,
And
mm,
I can't be happy cheery if you're not giving me anything to be happy cheery about. I can't be entertaining if you're not giving me anything to be entertained for.
mm,
And if you feel like you're at a blank and you don't have any sense of where you want your emotions or where you want your next move to come from until I give you guidance, then where are you pulling me for a direction forward? Where are you really pouring into me to direct me on what I want to do next, where I want to go eat, where movie I want to go watch, what mood I want to be in? Oh, Do I have to tell you every single next move? Yes.
Byron,
That's all. It's my 30 seconds.
that's good, Bree.
Yeah, yeah. I think it sounds like at some level it could be, say if you have a couple that this is actually the case, it can be both parties, not just one, and you form a codependency, right? Which I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you is a really bad place to go. Look it up if you don't know what that is, because a lot of us, a lot of couples are codependent. Um, it is very important to have those things that will afford you to be independent of each other. That dependent on the other person to want to Bree's point, make you happy. That stuff ain't gonna fly because you're gonna be looking for excuses. We all look for excuses for our reasons, I should say,
Mm-hmm.
why we're not happy, right? And it's really easy to look beyond us when sometimes we don't need to go any further than us, right? We
Mm-hmm.
know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're facilitating that or accommodating that, that's not a healthy place to be at all. And you can flip it either way you want to, right? If you have that person that's relying on you solely, you're going to have to help them. You're going to have to break that dependency that they have on you because it will grow old. It'll grow old on you, and
Mm.
it'll only make them, I think, a worse person, right? Because they're not going to find their happiness through you as much as they would if they could figure out what are the things they need internally to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta play hardball with them, and I like my niece's approach. You got to push back on that because if you are an enabler of that, you're going to have that person that's going to have that dependency on you, and then they're always going to be whiny and needy, and so I can be needy, but I realize the fault in that needy in the sense that I love and I'm in a relationship now where we both like spending time together, but you also got to have that independent time, I think, to have that healthy perspective and being able to realize what matters to you. Do that without having to necessarily worry about what the other person wants to be doing. That's the beauty of being off and doing what you do. You're not having to appease them, 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that can get exhausting.
Absolutely.
And then, just number one, life is hard already. You can do just enough to work on yourself, and you do need to give something to your mate. But if you find that it's always that, then there's not anything for you. And then who's taking care of you, and kind of reset that a little bit. I'm giving out, but and I'm going to say this, but I'm not receiving as well. And then you just start to
Hmm.
get to a place where now you start looking out for yourself only. You start
Right.
separating two being one. Now you're back to two pieces. Okay, now you're even saying words that, well, this is me, that's you. This is mine, that's yours. Well, this is
Hmm.
what I'm going to do. I don't know what you're going to do. Like, you literally now start to separate that relationship. Michelle, do you want to comment or add on that?
I mean, I agree with Byron and Bree both. Especially, I mean, for me, I feel like it's too heavy of a burden to be responsible for someone else's happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's not my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I should put that on someone else. That's You'll never be able to fulfill it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I agree with Byron when he says there's something internally that you have to find within yourself. And I feel like once you're able to establish that, then you share that happiness, that love, that care you have for yourself with someone else. But to depend on another person and their actions to be responsible for how you feel, that seems very risky and unhealthy to me.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
actually just validated something, Michelle. It almost becomes like a source of an opportunity for them to blame you. So, kind of going to what even Byron said,
Mm-hmm.
like that internal battle, whether it's on them or the receiver, but it gives them an opportunity to, oh, well, because you didn't do this to my standards,
Right.
I'm upset
Mm-hmm.
with you.
Now they're unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now starts, and then it starts depleting you because you're like, well, dang, nothing I do is good enough. Da, 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 da. And little by little, you're like chiseling away to like this little mouse when you first started off into the dating scene as a lioness with
Mm-hmm.
Right.
the
Mm-hmm.
full
Mm-hmm.
gorgeousness. Yes.
Well, we're going to
Yes.
go to one that's a little more risque. One that, those may be like, oh, TA's bringing this. Yes, I am. Like I told you, the focus for me this time around is having those conversations that you don't think that we should be having, that we got to have because somebody else may have it. And so I like this one from Channel 9. And this is from Sir Sub Sandwich. I like this. If you find that he or she is a selfish lover in bed, where they are likely just to be about themselves and you never feel like it's about you. Okay, this is, I like this one because, intimacy is a big piece of a relationship. It's how you now take what you feel emotionally, and it's a component of communicating it physically. That true love and passion that you have for that person gets conveyed intimacy. Now, don't get me wrong, there may be times where it's just about the sex. But in most cases, it's a art and a form, the way it was created, to be a love making thing, to make more love, to take love and make it bigger. And so, have you guys ever been in a relationship to where you felt like that relationship, when it came to, and let's keep it still as close as we can, PG 18, where it was just about them? They may have said it was about you, they may have tried to tell you it was about you, but when you really look at it, when you really realized it, it really wasn't about you on an intimate level. And so I'm scared to call out anybody. I'm taking, those that would like to, be initiative in this and volunteer. Michelle, woo, I
I'll
like
just say very quickly, that hasn't ever been an issue in a relationship that I've been in.
it. Hmm.
However, if it was,
She said, if it was, go, Michelle.
that's a deal breaker for me.
Go. Okay.
It's non-negotiable. Like,
Non-negotiable. Okay.
that
And
has to be right. It
okay.
has to.
Okay. I'm going to add another question to that. And if the passion's not there, where there's not an attraction and passion, is that something that makes you feel like that needs to be a relationship that needs to end, or do you just try to see if you can work that part out?
It's a red flag.
Okay.
I think it definitely needs to be worked out. I find it difficult to imagine long-term relationship without having that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that that chemistry or initial attraction or desire for one another is necessary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
It's
so I'll say
a
it's
very
the passion and the love making in the bedroom and having those feelings are, you're saying, a key component to relationships. If you don't have that, that could be a red flag that, hey, this relationship, may not be what it needs to be a relationship, is what you're saying.
yes, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. I love it. Bree,
I'll
I'm going to come to
comment.
you next. I'm coming to you, Byron. I'm saving you for last. I already know your thoughts on this one. So, Bree, let me come to you. What are your thoughts there? And again, if you guys want to share that are watching, I've got several people in both places. I would love to kind of hear you guys share. And man, there's so many people I wish I could welcome. Oh my God, Estrada, what's up? Amy, what's up? God, there's so many over here. So, Bree, what are your thoughts there?
I'm gonna say this. I got to the point where I got mine and I left. Like, cause it got so much to the point where it was about the other person, what they wanted, what they needed. Um, and they were taken care of, and I wasn't. I was always left high and dry. And it does take a
Mm-hmm.
lot of emotion. It's a lot of effort to get me to be vulnerable
Mm,
physically, mentally, passionately, all of that. It takes a lot. And if I've gotten to that point to let us be with each other,
mm,
whether it's the fifth time that week, whatever, it's still, I still mentally, as a woman, you have to get there. Um, and I'm not left with more than what I came with. I just, No, I got to the point where I literally, for myself, oh, you didn't? I'm sorry. I gotta go do dishes. I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna go
Mm,
take a shower.
mm, mm.
And again, I'm keeping this PG
Yeah, PG 18.
7, 8, 17, 18, whatever.
Hey, Mindy. Oh my God. I love her comments over here. I hope it pops. Kind of what I just said a little while ago, because I'll say it, that when it came to the bedroom, you got to a place then where it was now just about getting yours. It wasn't even
Mm-hmm.
about pleasing the other person. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where that relationship, and I'm sure Michelle will be back, that relationship then became something that it was just now about you. It was no longer two
Yeah.
becoming one. It was you're over here and you're over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Byron. I love that on Men Do Talk, we had this conversation with a bunch of men. And if you guys have not watched or went to go to those series, you download the app, Superhero University, or you can go to YouTube and you can find them. But we talked about this, and it was a bad booty show. And so let's talk about this, Byron. You know, again, this is one of the things that they say here from some obviously big, important people. I mean, you got Fox, you got NBC, Channel 9, you got all these places that are saying that if you find that in the bedroom, because again, that's love making, that it's all one sided. It's where that person's constantly just taking, there's nothing for you, that's a red flag that that relationship may need to end or you may need a bounce. Okay, what are your thoughts with that?
I'm gonna do kind of like I did with a couple of the other ones. I would flip it. I'd say you'd be better served to figure out what's the precursor to knowing or having a good clue as to how your partner's going to be in bed. So I think
Mm,
you can figure that out before you even actually are intimate with them, based on how they interact and what they do for you outside of the bed. So I think it's not wise or not smart necessarily to dip and figure out after the fact when you
mm,
could actually find out before you've actually been intimate with this person. There's indicators, right?
mm-hmm,
I mean, that a person that's not looking to elevate you to please you outside of the bedroom,
mm.
I doubt they're going to make the efforts in the bedroom, right? They're going to be true to themselves, probably even more so in that bedroom. It'll just be more profound.
Mm,
So
mm, mm,
if a man can't make the effort to appease you, um, I'm talking, like across the board making efforts. He's not going to make
mm,
the effort in the bedroom, and if he does, it's only going to be for a minute.
mm,
Where he'll be on to what it about him as opposed to appeasing you. So no, I think there's indicators, and it can be a huge red flag not to even bother to be intimate with this man, because if he can't please you outside the bedroom, don't let it be relegated to just being pleased by him intimately, because you're
mm-hmm,
worth more than that. And,
mm-hmm,
and and I would say the same. I would expect the same thing for a woman. It's it's
mm-hmm.
it's and to be honest, I think it's easier to find a certain level of acceptable pleasure in the bedroom. It's
Mhm,
harder to
mhm.
find that pleasure outside the bedroom.
Oh, there it
So,
is. Right there,
right?
Byron. Matter of fact, don't say another word because that was a mic drop. You know, you can find that, but to find the other is hard. Now, I've got a question here from one of the people that are watching. I love this one. We've been knowing each other for years. And hey, Mindy, she says, in a long term relationship, hold on, bless her heart. I think she may be having a signal problem. In a long term relationship, folks grow old, sex goes away. How do you communicate that passion then? Unclear how no sex intimacy is a deal breaker in that moment. Who wants to take that one as an answer? I like this one. I'll take it, and then you guys can kind of add. Michelle, Mindy, well, Michelle, I'll come to you in a second because I was going to ask you a question because you've been married before, and I know Byron's been married as well. But I think that you're right. When you've been in a long term relationship, you've made a relationship more than just about maybe what it is more hot in the beginning, or it's now got other fullness, to the relationship. You're right. Sex doesn't have that level of the priority or the must that it's had before, because now your love language, sex language is in other areas. And I think that you can find more fulfillment in other areas more. It's not necessarily just about that. It also could mean that it's a come and go, to where maybe you have moments like that and then you don't have moments like that. I think that when you've been in a relationship and you've built a life, and now you've got a friendship, you've got companionship, you've got communication, you've got kids, or you've got things. I think that whole passion is a multitude of different things. It's not just one thing. And so I think that that's where it's about your relationship. I do. I have coached people that, believe it or not, that need and desire to have such an intense sexual relationship, or to have that kind of level of passion in a relationship, believe it or not, has not been something that it was in the beginning or what it was. It's other things. There's a great book that's out, and I was trying to think of it in my mind right now, where it talks about that. It talks about that it's the 7 most highly successful relationship. I think it's Stephen Covey who wrote it. And lo and behold, he talks about that. He talks about how when he found the most successful relationships that were long term, he found that when it came to sex and sexual passion, that was actually one of the things that was not as significant. But I would love to maybe dive deeper in those relationships. Was it maybe something in the beginning where it was something that was, and it helped to grow all of this? It was a piece of growing all of this that now has something that is growing it that's different, that it has more meaning and more fulfillment. So I'm going to tell you straight off the bat, I've coached people. I have successful relationships that I coach that where that's not the thing, because they've grown old, but they also have a very fulfilling relationship in multiple areas, or they get fulfillment in other areas that bring that intimacy to a place that sex can't bring it, or there's things about sex. Not talking about the O's, okay? The O's, y'all know what I'm talking about, but everything else it can. So I hope that helped you. Michelle, were you going to add something to that?
I missed a part of the conversation. My computer cut out on me, and
that's okay.
Just now kind of getting back. I just caught the end of what you were saying. So
I did have a comment, Tracy.
Yeah, Byron, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it comes down, for lack of a better word, diversity, right? So, meaning, I would take your investment in this partner or the person, right? Should be its makeup should be as complex as they would say if you were playing the stock market, right? You diversify, right? You don't put all your stock in one thing. So if you've heavy loaded your investment into something that's not going to last over time, which we all know that the sex is probably going to be maybe great at the start, might get better, and then it's going to kind of flatten out, so to speak. And if you're together long enough, it may retire altogether. But if you've actually invested in other things early in the relationship to ensure that this partner of yours is say a friend, or you have common interests, right? I think you can sustain and be creative in other ways to enjoy yourselves, right? That may supplement or be a substitute for, say, if your intimacy is not something that you have any longer as part of your relationship, or it is not the icing on the cake or the cherry on top, so to speak, anymore. Other things can be. Basically, if you've invested that time and insured yourself. That's why it's so important, right? To balance it out. It's great when you have that partner that's good in bed, so to speak, but there to sustain and go over, to last over time, it's going to take more than that. Guarantee freaking to you. We could talk a whole show on that one.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was more so about being a selfish lover. I didn't think that it represented like this is what's going to hold a relationship together. Absolutely not.
Mhm.
But when I responded, I thought I was responding to more
And you
so it
were.
being
And you
someone
were.
who is selfish
Yeah. Yeah.
in the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
we had a
are you willing
question.
to accept that for however many years it is y'all will be getting it on?
Yeah.
So
Well, I like when you
it's specific to that, but nothing
yes.
more.
Well, when you weren't on, we had a question from, one of the people watching. And they were talking about a long-term relationship and how people grow old and sex doesn't hold that importancy as
Right.
it does, would that be a deal breaker? And that's kind of how we got to that discussion. And I was actually telling her that I know many couples that have a great relationship where sex is not what it was in the beginning, or it wasn't because of the
Right.
fulfillment in other areas. So I love that you've got a different
Gotcha.
perspective saying you can have that. And so I love that. And again, I think it's about each person. What do they need? What do they require? And what do they feel like that makes a great relationship? And so I want to go to our last two questions before we close. Um, this one I like is, have you ever dated someone to where they were so caught up in their past, where they literally talked about their past and their childhood as the reason why they were struggling to have a healthy relationship with you, where they just blamed everything on their childhood, what they didn't get in their childhood, what they didn't get from their mom or dad, or what they got from their mom and dad, or what they didn't have. And that was the thing that they focused their why they treated you a certain way, or what they expected of you a certain way. And this is from Showtime, and it's from "You Got the Wrong Lady." I love it. Or the wrong lad, excuse me, the wrong lad. It's, have any of you guys dated somebody to where that's all they talked about was that they were caught up in their past? Byron, have you dated somebody like that?
Yeah, I've been that person myself.
Mm.
As much as I have dated others, I've been called out at different times, and sometimes it can be because you're coming out of a relationship that you're still kind of tethered to it, or there's something about this relationship that you're in right now that's reminding you of that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but using my childhood as an excuse, not necessarily past relationships, bringing them into the current relationship. Absolutely. I read, actually, I was going to say one of a cousin sent me a podcast, Tracy. I can't remember it, but it was profound. The gentleman talked about how the way the mind operates, that if you grab a memory in the past, you can have the physical reaction in the present
Mm-hmm.
as though you were
Mm-hmm.
in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's why we get scared oftentimes. It's not because it's a new moment as much as it is something that we equate to in the past, and we bring those past fears into the present. So
Mm-hmm.
I take that and say that the same would apply to relationships. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly revisiting your past relationships, guess what? You're
Mm-hmm.
in your past relationships.
I agree with that. I agree with that. You've got things that
So
still have not been dealt with, or you've not dealt with in your past relationships. I
and
agree.
and I'm not looking to be that darn freaky that I got to bring in all my past relationships. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Michelle, what about you? Have you dated somebody to where it was all about their past? It was really hard for them to let go of it, or they used that as an excuse as to how they were with you, they weren't with you, they didn't know what to do.
Um, I was the person in that situation
Mm-hmm.
that was doing that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm guilty of that behavior in
Mm-hmm.
the past, and using what has happened to me as it kind of ties into what number one was, not taking accountability and using it as an excuse for
Mm-hmm.
why you are the way that you are, until I learn, okay, there's something I can do about it. It doesn't have to remain an excuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And did you find that that was something that just took a lot of work, or no work, or little work?
It took a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's the space. You got to work on it. It doesn't heal itself. It doesn't go away. And it goes back to one of the other things that they said, that men said, is that if you're looking for other people to be the things that have to do that, or they got to be the ones to make that right for you, or make you feel this way, or
Mhm.
tend to that, then again, you're not growing. You're just trying to get people to come and meet you where you're at, which is your comfort zone, or you feel people owe you, and you're not growing. So you're kind of, whether you realize it or not, you're entrapped to those things that either didn't happen in your past, in your childhood, or did, and that means that we've got some healing or some work to do. Bree, what about you? Have you dated someone, or like Byron and Michelle both said that that's actually me? I was that person.
Dated and also self. I think it was my own generated red flags, and kind of like what Byron had said, that these are memories, that if it replicates close to it, you're almost reliving it, and it causes a flag in my mind. So it's like, if it sounds like it, smells like it, acts like it, talks like it, all of that like it is it. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of my higher being, higher self telling me, Bree, you've been here before. What lesson did you learn back then that you need
Mm-hmm.
to apply now? So red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as others hearing it, it is a maturity level to be able to receive it and understand them, where they're implying it for, what their intentions are. If they are hitting you with the, oh, well, my ex did this, or oh, well, my ex
Mm-hmm.
was this, blah, blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
then I can see the evilness behind it. But if it's something like, hey, well, because of how my relationship was with my ex, I noticed that this worked, or this didn't work, or this is why I'm this way. It's also your reception to it, and how you're taking it, or how they're implying it, but also how you're receiving it. Or is it something that you're going to act on, or is it something that you're just going to go
Mm-hmm.
in one ear out the other? But of course, if it's with evil intention, then no,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
back
I
off.
like.
But
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
do want to say something from Mindy real quick, because I did have my hand raised. So Mindy,
Okay.
I don't know if you're even still on, if you're going to come
She
back to
is.
this
She just
later.
commented. Yeah.
She is. Okay,
Yeah.
good. I want you and I just to kind of look at me as your younger self, um, who has had never been married. I've never had a long-term relationship. I think whenever I say 3 to 5 years, people are like, "Oh, well, that's nothing. That's honeymoon, whatever." Um, I know when I get older, and what I am wanting in that older relationship is those little slaps on the butt in the kitchen, or if there's like a certain song that maybe we had a makeout session in a park or whatever, maybe you play it while I'm passing by to, from the garage or whatever. Just finding those little romantic moments. And it doesn't even have to lead into the physical. It's just
Right.
we've developed 40, 50, 30 years of memories. Let me bring you back again, bringing back what Byron just said. Let me bring you back to this memory of when we went, on this road trip, or when we got stuck in the rain because of a flat tire or whatever. What song was playing? What food were we eating? Where were we? So maybe that's my younger self. If I could talk to my 60-year-old self, or 50-year-old self, or
Mm-hmm.
40-year-old self,
Mm-hmm.
and just say, have these moments for your passion or your romance. That's what I would want to tell myself. So that is what your younger self, me, is telling you to tell your man or woman, whomever. Slap my butt a little more, put some music on, bring you back to the 70s, 80s. There you go. Sorry.
I love that one. That was good, Brianna. I love that one a lot. All right. So our last one is it's so funny when I look at these. These are just really good. It was just hard to choose, which one. So I'm going to give you two that I like, and you decide which one you want to address. One of them is from TriStar Pictures. This is Miss um, Vanjie, I think is what it is. This is where if what he loves about you is how you make him feel, and or the things you do from him, rather than really who you are, what you're like, your goals and shared interests. He's caring more about the things you do for him than it really being about who you really are. And then I love this other one that I'm just going to throw both, and you guys decide which one you want to use as your last one. And this one is from MTV. It's That Voice Dude. He says, if he believes that the relationship without arguments or screaming matches are doomed for lack of passion, he probably hasn't learned to communicate in a healthy way, is what he's saying. So you decide which one of those speaks to you. And Minnie said, thank you, Bree. I am single now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I love this because I've been in both of these situations. So I am really excited to see which one you decide, speaks more to your dating scene. And so let me go to you, Michelle. Have you been in a relationship where, and you could take it, you could flip this if you want to, where he believes a relationship without arguments and screaming matches are doomed, where he thinks the arguing and the screaming is what's supposed to happen. That's passion. Okay. That's
Yeah, no, I definitely can't do the yelling, um, or even what may seem like an argument. I don't even like the word argument. I like discussion.
mm-hmm.
If we can't sit down and have a discussion and talk about it, which, sometimes that does get you emotional, and upset, you're going to have emotions. I still feel like it needs to be within a certain realm of control.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do well with being yelled at
Mm-hmm.
personally.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be in a relationship where that is how the individual communicates. It would be a red flag for me. I have seen other people in relationships where they seem perfectly fine with it. If I think the two people, if that's how they communicate and they're able to not take it personally, then, to each his own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a red flag for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Byron, which one do you want to take? Do you want to take that one? Or when you have someone that is in love with you because of how you make them feel, but they're not really in love with you because of who you are. They don't really connect with who you are, what you like, your goals, or shared interests. Which one speaks more to what your experience has been?
Uh, both, but goals and shared interests. I'm struggling to really kind of understand that one, but I think I'm going to speak on my take on that rather than who you or what you like. It's wow. For me, um, it can absolutely be a red flag, you know, when a person doesn't care about what you like. We talked about that earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think having that awareness, and my girlfriend now is a perfect example of showing love because she's learning those things that she know that I like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the complete opposite of a red flag. That's a check the box kind of thing. So I think if you have someone that's not willing to do that, discover those things that you like. As I talked about earlier, sacrificing some of their time to do the things that you like, then that that goes back to a lot of the red flags, right? To be honest, kind of, you know, encapsulated in that one red flag, so to speak. There's so many things that
Mm-hmm.
it says when the person is not willing to or doesn't have an interest in what you're interested in, or even if they're not interested, just willing to be supportive of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? In those things that you're interested in, and one tricky approach to it, say you're the type of person that you want to have more time with that person. Well, the best way to share and have great time together is to have have common interests. So if you have someone that thinks that, well, the only common interest, I'm gonna go back to the other one, common interest is in the bed, then I think, good luck, because that's gonna get old. It's gonna go and
Yeah.
it's gonna run its course.
It's going to
So
run its course.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
discovering those things you have in common, being invested in those things, I think is a
Mm-hmm.
plus. If you have someone that's not
Mm-hmm.
willing to do that, it is a red
Mm-hmm.
flag that you're in a short-term relationship.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Well, I'm going to get you, Bree, to close this out. You've been hot off the dating scene, and I know that when you were looking at a lot of these things that were brought by all of these different people, And these are men who have basically said that, hey, ladies, if you find men like this, you need to bounce. But I like right off the bat that this is not just about men, this is about women too. And so, which one of these two do you want to speak on? The one about, the yelling and screaming in the relationship, or the one where, and it does kind of touch on what we talked about earlier, where they love the way you make them feel. Oh, they're in love with you, but it's really not about you.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you ended with that one because that's the one that I was referring to. When it gets to the point where you kind of take a step back and you look at your relationship and you see that everything that you're aligned to is their goals. They're where they
Mm,
want to be.
mm, it's okay.
What they want to achieve, and you've done everything to help them financially with their home setting, everything. But you look and they haven't done anything for yours. They haven't even asked you what your goals were. That is a huge red flag. I feel a lot of these questions now with these dating questions, they always say, what is your 5-year plan? What is your 10-year plan? Where do you see yourself, this time next year? I did that. Oh my gosh, I did that. What was your credit score? Oh, how many months left do you have on your car? All of that. Um, what does your portfolio look like? All of that. But I never was asked, where do I want to be? What are my goals? What do I want? And nothing, even the unknown, nothing was done by the other person to even try and be in line. Um, so the goals one, you definitely doing this flag thing. If they don't ask you what your goals are, and by month 6, month 9, they haven't done anything to hold you accountable, support you, send you articles of something that you're passionate about or something that you're wanting to do, or gotten even just a minute excited about something that leads you to where you want to be in that year, 3 years, 10 years, whatever, and they've actually gone out of their way to find something to be there with, red flag.
Hmm. Hmm. It's okay, Bree. It's all good. It's all good. I guarantee you a lot of people that are going to be listening to this, on the podcast channels are really going to relate to you with that. Well, I know that as we close, I want to give you guys at least a last word, of something you want to add or you want to say before we close out. I love the fact that we have had a great discussion about relationships and dating. Single in the city is even harder today than it was back in the day. I mean, to sound old, but it is. You're dealing with more things in a relationship than you've ever had to deal with. And I am meeting more people that I'm coaching that are becoming more individualist, just because they did give a lot. They have been hurt a lot. And the things that they've experienced in dating, were things that really took them for a loop. And a lot of times, the people that I'm coaching, they didn't just go through it once. They went through it multiple times. And as I told them in coaching sessions, is because they have a beautiful heart to not give up on love. They have the ability to give love no matter what, that they believe in people. Because a lot of times that's what you do when you start a relationship. You're believing in that person. You're not just giving them your heart. It's because you believed in them. You're giving them your heart, and that you're entrusting them with you and your life. And so when we have relationships that, or we're dating people where we do come to the day where we realize we've done all of this and we have to wake up, because, man, so many things can happen in the relationship that you don't even realize the truth. And then you wake up, with that reality that you now have to accept, and what it makes you feel like when it's been 2, 3 years or 10 years or 20 years. It can knock you to your knees. It can affect you even when it comes to that next relationship. which is why we got to focus on those things. And so let me give you each a chance to comment or add. And man, we got all these comments happening now, which I think is really cool. I hope you guys can see them. And so, Michelle, last words on this, because dating today and being single in the city is a lot harder. There are things that you need to be more aware of. Things are different. And this is what these men were saying. Men were saying to women, hey, these are less common things that I've ever seen before. They're not what used to be. These are things that y'all need to be aware of. What are your thoughts?
I think it's really good that we have platforms like this in today's time to be able to share and get different perspectives and learn and grow about each other as it relates to relationships. Like you said before, a lot of times you don't even know what you don't know. And by the time you've gone through it and experienced it, you're broken. And now you have to heal from the trauma that you've gone through. I think it's really good that we're bringing these issues to the table, that people are recognizing there is trauma from the past and things they need to heal from. And it's going to empower us, I believe, to do better in relationships moving forward, especially for the younger generations coming up and having access to all of this information.
Mm-hmm. Well, Michelle, you just said a bunch of things that I wish we had more time. And I want to be mindful of y'all's time because this sister can talk about this subject forever. Is that we've got to talk about these topics. That's what Unleashed is about. It's not meant to be a short tic tac show. It's meant to have discussions, just not because of those that have been hurt so many times and we're broken or we've got broken pieces in us that if we just shake us, we jiggle and we got to heal those things. But it's also the fact that we've got to talk about these things so that we're sharing it with that next generation that's coming up. The whole goal is to get wisdom to share with other people so that they don't have to go through what you went through. And that next generation, though, and I'm just being honest, we got to really get deep because they don't want to necessarily hear. But this is about things that if they do, and I will tell you, my biggest population my analytics, and I'm excited about this, is that 25 to 35-year-old age group. It's number one and been consistent for a very long time. And that's why you see my colors the way they are. You see all of those things because that is truly, who, if we could help by sharing shows like this and talking about it, can make a difference. But it also can take a 52-year-old woman, a 60-year-old woman, or a 35-year-old woman, or a woman who just is now divorced or trying to date or been dating or a man dating. And the things that they go through can really affect you as a person and your belief in yourself, and how you feel you are. And it can tell you something about your worth and value that I'll just say it as a lie. But here are these people that you've been in a dating scene with that are communicating something different to you by their actions or lack of. And so I love that. Byron, last words. You know what? Pause that. Brianna, last words.
If you feel that you have gone to the point where you can't see yourself with this person, that they're going to be there on your sickest day, that they're going to be there at your need of guidance, they're not going to give you the right guidance, abort shit. That has probably been my biggest takeaway from all of my relationships is when I'm at my weakest, when I can't do something, is that person going to be there? As far as single advice, I know a lot of people have stated go meet a person doing the things that you already like, so that you can have those off the bat. You can have those mutual interests, but also make sure that you're taking time to heal between relationships, and you're not just quickly getting out there to get, again, using this slogan that my mom is, me and her have joked about, but to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. So just make sure that you're healing before you let yourself even go out there, because you can definitely not only put some notches on your bed frame, but put some notches on your it's a rhyme. Notches on your bed frame, put the notches on your membrane. So just be careful with your time, because time is valuable.
I'm going to ask you a question before I go to Byron. Do you feel like you having all those signs in the relationship and you staying as long as you did, do you feel like, because I know you're really helping people. All of a sudden, Brianna, when you start talking, the comments start going crazy. And so, do you feel like, because you're telling everybody abort, speak to those people, because a lot of times we want to try to work it out. We want to try to fix it. And sometimes we make it about ourselves. Do you feel that the longer you stayed, more damage was done?
Yes,
Mm,
but I do not regret it because that damage was so much done that the moment that something even relates to it, I'm not going to give it the energy. And there
mm,
are these, kind of to what you and Michelle were saying a second ago, as far as the younger generation, um, making sure that you don't have to go through these hoops and hurdles by listening to these types of discussions. Sometimes it's one thing going in at the other, like, hey, don't do this, that stove's hot. But until you actually touch that stove, or until you hit your toe on that something, or
that's good,
until you
Bree.
don't, whatever, you're not going to learn. But once you learn and you've been put in that fire, oh, you know, now you're going to get burned. And all you can do is just see what you can do after to make the pain go away, to notice it next time, to re-find yourself. Um, so yeah,
Mm, love it, love it.
go.
Man, Michelle, thank you, and Bree, thank you. Byron, I'm gonna let you, kind of end with your thoughts. I just know how you are. You're taking it all in, and so I'm ready for you to share before we close.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it, sis. And thanks for the invite. It's
Mm-hmm.
been fun. I think, for me, the whole premise of red flags, right, is something that handicaps us that have, been in relationships. As you get older, as you've had experiences in multiple relationships, you are going to accumulate red flags. And what you have to be careful of is to realize that sometimes you have to toss some of those red flags because they end up becoming a burden. They end up becoming your shackles. They end up becoming that moat between you and that love, that potential love that you could have. I think it was earlier. I think it's Bree. I love when she was talking about analogies to the scales and balance. Um, Absolutely. I'm the same individual that I've been. For 20 something years since my divorce. Still not in a marriage, or I'm not married to someone over a 20-year period. And it's because, and I think oftentimes, I'm blessed that the lady I'm dating now literally, values me, in spite of, what could be red flags. She chooses to have a different measure than, say, those persons who have devalued me, did not value me in the past. And I think it's necessary for us, as when we're single and we're searching for that someone, that you have to realize that everyone has flaws. Everyone's going to sometimes look familiar to that person you've had, or you've had an experience with before. But what you
Mm-hmm.
have to weigh is, number one, if you have value in them, I think you have to basically be tolerant, a little bit of tolerance, to afford yourself to weigh, back to Bree's analogy, weigh the good with the bad. Because oftentimes I think the good qualities can literally just vanish those bad qualities. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
if I have something lingering that is equates to a red flag, I would argue, not argue, but I would contend that a good woman can literally help me to remove those qualities or those traits that others didn't value, or they may not even value themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that can be through patience, it can be through example, it can be through love, it can be through so many things. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're just looking to give up quickly, looking for a
Mm-hmm.
reason to be out of a relationship, there are more reasons to get out than there is to stay in oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to have a good balance, as my beautiful niece said. I think in order to be successful or be on the road to being successful, if you just want to play red flags, good luck. Good luck on
Yeah, everybody's got
on
them.
getting past those hurdles. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for
everybody has
sure.
shortcomings and red flags. This is okay.
We
Yes,
do.
Bree. Bree, you're raising your hand.
He's actually said something. It's not even just about your red flags, but your red flags can be something that helps somebody else. So
Mm,
doing away with them could allow somebody else's red flags to disappear too. So closing a door on something may actually be they want to learn. They want to learn how to love. They want to. And if you communicate and tell them, hey, this is a trigger, this is something, rooted that I
mm-hmm,
feel
mm-hmm.
very, you know, emotion driven about, they may actually be that person. Hey, I have these red flags. I want to learn how to let these go. So
Yep.
Byron's absolutely right. It's two sides, knowing which ones to let go, which ones that have the opportunity to grow out
Mm-hmm,
of the
mm-hmm,
relationship.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
yeah, no, that's a good point, Brian. I actually appreciate you saying that.
And but I say this, but I like what you said, Bree. And I like
Hmm.
Byron said this multiple times. You heard Byron kind of, air his trash. He says, I'm owning it, but you got to own it. I
Hmm.
think that you've got to say it. I think you've got to be willing to open up about it. But if you're not, that's a relationship that is hard to have. But to say, hey, I'm struggling in this. Hey, because of this, what happened to me, I'm having issues, and really talking it out. And like Michelle said earlier, how we communicate doesn't have to be emotionally, crazy or yelling. Just say, hey, this is something I'm struggling with because of that. It takes effort, it takes exposure, and it takes communication. But if you don't have that, then none of those things can happen. They're just red flags. That's all they are. They're not red flags that can be tended to. In order for us to have somebody tend to us, we got to say something's wrong. Doctor can't tend to you if you don't say something's wrong.
Right.
And so that's where that communication has to come in, or they could see you, having all of these convulsions and everything and not knowing what's going on. And you say, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm good.
I'm okay.
But all of these things now show it. You can't work with that, so I love this. And it's so funny. And I say this, who I work for, I think I'm learning something. The later that we are on, because we've never been on this late, I'm watching more
Oh, wow.
people in activity. So I'm learning something. It's almost like I feel like some of the things we were dealing with in the beginning, it's like I feel like maybe I do need to be a later show. Now, finding guests to come on with me late, they got to be late night owls like me. I am. But I do think it's where a lot of people can. Kids are asleep, they finish their day. Now they can
They
have
ain't asleep.
discussions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
West
love
Coast,
that.
West Coast, West Coast showing up, sis.
Yeah, that's that West Coast showing up. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I want to thank you, Michelle, for joining and just sharing your heart and your truth and your experience. And I know for you, you do that because of your love you want to give. Again, you guys, this is Michelle Reedus. She is the one who you guys have commented and asked, man, what is going on with your hair? This is her. Her beauty, she gives her heart to her hair. I have never, in all of my years of wearing hair since I was 5 and I'm 52, have ever had a hair that makes me feel like I am human, that I'm a girl and I'm a woman. And this girl gave me my first one in over 40 something years, 47 years of having to wear wigs for real. Like, not because of I want hair, it's because I had to wear them. And she owns Michelle's Hair Closet, you guys. She's in Houston, Texas. You could just type in, Michelle's Hair Closet. She does everything. So if you want ones that are just the weave, or you want ones that are short, I'm going to tell you, she is the one to go to. I'm just really excited. And the fact that the biggest thing she wants to do is to really help people, to coach and help and mentor people as well in a healing process. And so excited to know you, Michelle. You've blessed me, and excited that we get to work together and help you launch your coaching business as well. So thank you for being on and being on so
Thank
late
you so
as well.
much for having me. Thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome. You're welcome. And then, man, to my family, man, y'all were both really excited. Bree was excited. Byron was excited because of the topic. because relationships is a big deal. Love is a big deal. And so I want to thank y'all for hopping on, Byron, getting over your illness. And look at you. You did fantastic. Looking good like
Thanks,
always.
sis.
And
Thanks, sis. Love you.
man, and Brianna, my gosh, girl, me and you are going to have some daughter moments on here. We bring up topics. You've grown and you got some deep stuff that you poured out, girl, that can really help a lot of people, especially with that age group being number one, 25 to 35, and then it's 35 to 45. Those are my two age groups right there that are just neck and neck. And it's men and women. So we're going to have to definitely suit you up more often, superhero, because you got a heart that just truly has gone through things for a reason. And it may be to help and bless people. And so with that, you guys, man, I love y'all's dedication. I love that y'all have hung. I love that, man. Please make sure you share this. And this again will be on all of the formats from Spotify to Pandora to iHeart to everywhere, you guys. Matter of fact, it'll get edited and it will just be, the piece. God, that sounded like a big dog coming in. It will be just the piece, you guys, at the audio only. But again, you can watch it right here on Facebook and also on YouTube. And make sure you join me on Tuesday, you guys. And I've got to figure out how we're going to do next week. We may be off next week because next week on Thursday, obviously, is Thanksgiving. But I will be here next week.
And your birthday.
Yes, and my birthday. And may you guys have such a wonderful time. You guys spend time with family. Take time out with family. You'd be amazed when you are around family or you can receive love. How I've said it over and over, love is the most powerful antidote and drug. It covers everything, what it can do for you. It can definitely cure what ails you. And so with that, you guys, I love you. Please make sure you share this. Make sure if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, you guys, and make sure you share this with as many people as you can. Have a good night. Bye, you guys. I love y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.